thing. Well, hi and welcome to Inspire to Build. And today we have Gleb here. My name is Erica Hughberg and I'm your host. And I work at TechRate. But I'm so excited to have Gleb here from Electric Twin. And if you are joining us, please say hi, and your comments will show up here on the screen. And if you have any questions, feel free to also pop them in. But yeah, if you are joining live, please pop in, say hi, and say where you are joining from. I am here in the US on the East Coast, and I am outside of Atlanta. So that's what I am. And Gleb, where are you in the world, and who are you, Gleb?
Hi, Erica. Good evening from London, as you can see by my background. It's already dark here, but we had a very nice sunny day here in London, so that was definitely a good one.
Amazing. Here it is sunny, but very, very windy. It's great that we're covering the weather report from all over the world. If you are joining us live, feel also free to tell us the weather where you are joining from. We love the weather. Weather is great. Awfully British of you, Gleb. I'm not British, but I lived in the UK for a very long time. I think we can, we can do the British thing and talk about the weather. I think that's fine. Where are you? Are you British, Gleb, or are you just living there?
Goodness me, probably you've been in the UK for 15 years now, so almost most of my life.
Awesome. So we can do the weather thing. So do the weather thing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Weather and tea, definitely stay on point.
Yeah, and well, I normally, always want to know who you are. For those who are new to Inspire to Build, we want to know who Gleb is. We want to know what Electric Twin is, and we want to know what inspired Gleb to build, and we want to talk about what the future is. And we also want to get good advice for people who are building AI-powered solutions. And we want to explore some of those things. So if you're staying with us, if you're just jumping in and joining the conversation, we'll, we're talking about what it takes to build AI-powered solutions and learn what Electric Twin is and learn more about Gleb. But we'll start out with who Gleb is and understand a bit more about Gleb's background and how Gleb got into building things. And hi, Gaurav. And here, okay, so it's a little cold in North India. Well, thank you for the weather update. I love it. Love the weather updates. For more people who may be sharing the weather updates, please get in on the weather conversation.
Hi, Katie. Well, folks, let me tell you how can I get to where I'm at the moment, working with AI at Electric Twin. So my journey into data began with a PhD in particle physics. So I had a chance to work on a large experiment with engineers and scientists to try to find hints of new physics. By the way, if you're wondering, the experiment was successful, and we did find a hint of new physics lurking out there. Maybe more on that later. Staying on topic of MLOps. During my PhD, got really excited about large-scale systems and leveraging data. It was 2020, which feels kind of in AI kind of age, how fast things are going, like many years ago. But it's only, right, only 5 years ago, but it feels like
a decade ago.
Definitely, I think right now, one year counts for two at the moment, maybe more. Yeah. But it was back in the good old days of the predictive ML, or what people call more kind of academically discriminative ML. Can you expand more on that? And I get really excited about applying techniques from sort of research, large-scale systems in ML. And I got my first gig as a data scientist at Virgin Media O2. At the time, the company was going through an exciting transformation. The Virgin Media and O2 was joining forces together. The company was scaling ML and AI use cases. At the time, I've also found this whole thing, MLOps, and wow, this is where I finally lost myself. So For those of you who don't know what MLOps stands for, it's a hybrid discipline that combines together best practices from machine learning, data engineering, and DevOps. So think of anything you need to be successful to do AI research, training models, evaluating models at scale, anything that you need around security, pipelines, and infrastructure. And yeah, I got myself into that and been kind of going more bullish on MLOps.
Okay. And I think it's also worth shouting out that when we talk about MLOps, you are quite involved in the MLOps community in London, not just very involved, I think you're also part of organizing, and you're an organizer there. Do you want to tell people a little bit about the community in London, as you touched on what MLOps is there?
Of course. So my friend Alex and I run the London chapter of the MLOps community. So MLOps community is like a global mafia of platform engineers who are interested in honing their skills on ML pipelines, ML best practices, coming together over drinks, pizzas, and sort of sharing learnings from what things are working, what things are not working. So I've been doing that for the last few years. It's been really exciting for anybody thinking to get involved with the community. I highly recommend it because if you think about doing extra stuff like reading papers or books, there's so much you can do. But when you have a collective community brain, so to speak, right? It's like you can share so many more insights, and it's just much more fun. We see a lot of people sort of spin up, join kind of ventures together. Some people even start dating as well. So MLOps community is not just. I know it's
not just technology. It's social. It's learning. Like,
oh yeah,
loads of things. So it's all right. So people may find their local chapter. You're in London. For those who are in London, they can attend. They can actually meet Gleb in, not just virtually here. And also, hello Aman, hello Tudor, there, people who are dropping in. And for anyone else who is joining the live stream, feel free to say hi. And Aman, you're saying you're running MLOps community local here in India. Amazing. So hopefully that's really fun. And feel free to share any links in the comments, anyone who are involved in the MLOps community, to any of your local chapters. I'm sure Gleb is very supportive of other chapters than the London chapter. So feel free to share those as well. It's a really, I've been attending some of the virtual conferences as well. There's loads of fun stuff. But okay, so you got into MLOps, Gleb, and that's the agenda. And what really attracted you to Electric Twin, though? Like, what made you really excited to then work at Electric Twin, and what do you find really inspiring about Electric Twin's mission?
Yeah, so what got me to where I am today, working in a fast-moving startup, Electric Twin. So just to give you a bit of a background, so at Electric Twin, we're building synthetic populations for our customers to help them with their market research. So the product we're working on is a platform that allows various companies to come in and help them with their focus groups or A/B studies that they can run. Usually companies do that at scale, but it does cost them quite a lot of money and a lot of time. So the iteration of ideas is quite slow. So there's a lot of friction on that. And of course, in a survey or a focus group, if you have missed a question, there is no way for you to come back and redo it. So if you forgot something, it's lost, and you kind of have to start from scratch. But obviously, in a world of generative AI that we're on, and the scale of data that the companies have about their customers, the value proposition that we can offer them is, of course, is to be able to run those experiments in seconds and at a fraction of a cost, such that they can iterate on various ideas like which marketing campaign going to resonate, or if one of their features is not being used, how to make it better for their customers. And I think there's definitely some good ethical part here. Is, I don't know about you, Erica, but filling in endless surveys doesn't sound like fun. So if we can remove that toil from humans and make products also better, I see it as a win-win.
So obviously I like products to be better, always. Like, I always like a product to be better, and especially better for me. I have this like fun thing that I always think is fascinating when I love. Okay, it sounds a bit weird. I know that people often don't like when you when you have this eerie feeling that software understands you better than yourself. But I actually find that kind of fascinating because I like when things feel right. So, okay, that's maybe a bit off on a tangent, but so when you think about electric twin, does that mean that does it create, can I get like a fake Erica, or is it more like a company creates fake sort of, 30-something-year-old, Scandinavian women? Like, what does it mean?
That's a good question. I think good distinction to make here. Of course, that we know after kind of simulating individuals. So yeah, we don't have a kind of digital copy of Erica, and that would be quite hard to do with the current kind of like AI technology that we have with LLMs, right? Because obviously they're stochastic in nature, right? And if you think about like the choices that you do day to day, it will be quite hard to simulate. But the scope of the problem we're trying to solve for exactly around market research is that not around predicting individual behavior, it's around looking at the group, so looking at aggregate.
Yeah.
So when we have those personas, again, it's quite ethical from point of view that they don't stand in for some specific individuals, they're standing for a group, representing, let's say, a demographic, and we're looking at sort of population of hundreds of thousands. So at this level, some stochasticity on small scale for a few questions actually help you kind of to add noise. So in the end, what you do is you evaluate your generated results on those surveys versus ground truth. And then, of course, at this level, we're currently reaching a comparable level of accuracy to a real survey.
And that's really interesting. Okay, so now I'm going to ask maybe some. So, you are actually answering surveys? So you're having AI answering surveys? Is that what's happening?
That's exactly correct. Well, not so much in a sense of clicking the buttons, but more in a sense of getting the question. So maybe I can give you an example.
Sorry, I'm asking the questions here. I'm really curious. I mean, that's what we're here. That's why we're having the conversation. What is happening, and who is really using electric twin? Now I'm really excited, Gleb.
Yeah, let's get under the foot. So what would be an interesting example to pick? So let's say you would like to launch a campaign on TikTok, and you have a cryptocurrency platform, and you want people to go on a platform to buy cryptocurrency, for example, right? So how would you engage your audience? You can create a picture, for example, of showing UI of your platform, or you can create another one for, I guess, showing a successful transaction, right? So maybe one image tries to portray how feature rich is the platform, while the other maybe tries to portray how secure it is. So here is a question. You can't run all the campaigns. You kind of have to choose. So which one would resonate more with demographics of TikTok? So that's the mostly, younger folks. Perfect.
You want to sort of do like an A/B testing?
Exactly, Erica. You're exactly on point. So what electric twin can help you in that case is give you that demographic that you can run an experiment on, and then you can ask that audience, that digital synthetic audience directly, which one of the images do you prefer more, and more exactly why, right? So this is always a classic thing.
The AI, the fake audience. I don't have to pay to run my ad. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly correct, and it's always in the marketing circles. But tell me why, and it's like, well, we can tell you why. So you can get the numerical results.
And this works.
It does, right? So I can also cover the evaluation part, which is really important because with Gen AI.
We have questions from the audience as well, though. Shall we look at those? I do want to hear more under the hood, Gleb. I think we all do, not just me. I think the people watching as well. But are you open to answering some questions live here, Gleb, from the audience?
Oh, that's the most exciting part. Let's take some live questions here.
That's why we are live. Otherwise, we would have done this offline, right? So what is the margin of error here? I guess answers are approximations, since the actual users might have a level of variance. So I guess this is sort of similar to why I was wondering, are we getting, how accurate is this? Well, say I am a marketer, say, and I want to figure out which campaign to run because it is expensive to run ads, and I want to see if I can figure out which one is going to be most impactful. And I want to sort of pre-test this. And how, and I guess this taps into this, what you were saying then, Gleb, the evaluation part that you were going to go into. So yeah.
Exactly. Let's cover this. And also, hi Tudor, nice, great question here. So kind of TLDR is the kind of traditional type of survey. We are currently at the same level of accuracy as the real survey. So if you run let's say a survey around the economy and then ask question, like a new questions to an audience, what we're saying is from an underlying data on, let's say, UK population, we can essentially get the same level of accuracy using the methods we do at Electric Twin. But the exact number, hopefully, Eric, you can share the link. You can go to Electric Twin website.
I can share links.
So I'm not going to quote the exact percentages, but we do share some of the figures. So in terms of variation, so I want to cover that. So one thing I found is it's quite important, and it doesn't, I think, just applies to Electric Twin. I think it's for anybody building with generative AI. Its instant realization is how easy it is to get the stuff out of it. But then the question is it right? So probably a statement of it's easy to build with AI, with generative AI is true, but how to make sure this is right? So to me, it's like most of the work is even done around evaluations and setting up correct benchmarks. There's so many headaches to think about. Just today I was chatting with some folks from Cursor, and they're really proud of their internal software benchmarks. And you can clearly see why. If you have a public benchmark, then the second it leaks into the model, you have a problem. The model has now memorized the question and the answer. So we do something similar at Electric Twin. Essentially what we have MLOps state with a number of golden data sets defined that are currently always growing and expanding in kind of use case and breadth and depth. And we're evaluating, let's say, a model. So let's say a new model comes out tomorrow. The question, of course, for us is this the right model for us to use? Is it going to be better? The next question is, what better even means? So, okay, let's say we keep questions of cost and latency to the side, and we only focus on making the most accurate prediction.
Yeah.
Okay, what is the most accurate even means? So, and this is where we're going to delve into the science. So let's say we have some accuracy metric, and we want to make sure that for a given survey question, we can reproduce it to as exactly as possible. And by that, I mean, we want to get a distribution of answers to match the underlying distribution. So if you have a question about, let's say, are you confident in the economy of this country getting better next year, right? Very simple example. The possible answers could be yes, no, and don't know, right? So let's say if you have 20% no, 60% yes, and then the rest don't know. So this is the ground truth. So you asked real people that question and you got that real distribution.
Okay.
Now imagine having digital personas. They haven't seen this question and answer.
Yeah.
Then you're asking them that question, and then you're seeing what the distribution of the answer is like, and then you compare one versus the other.
Yeah.
And on that scale, you can kind of grade the amount of energy it takes, kind of the penalty you take. So if you distribution match exactly in all the bins, like the yes, the no, and the don't know, then you get 0, no energy needed. And if they're completely mismatched, then it's like 1. It's like, oh God, it's like you got it completely off.
Yeah.
Now imagine scaling it to hundreds of questions, hundreds and thousands of personas.
And then I guess you must match this to what sort of demographic they represent as well, because they represent different demographics. Oh, wow.
It's exactly that. So you can see that a lot of degrees of freedom, right? A lot of things you can tune. So it's important kind of to stay scientific and fix everything. And if you only, let's say, do a scan, like what model is the best? Okay, GPT 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and then you kind of like do that. So you run for many number of data sets, many repetitions, and then you're like, aha, right? And you can essentially do a scan, so you can confidently say something is better than something else with this degree of confidence.
So I really feel that evals is getting so fascinating and so interesting. So for those who've tuned into a few of these conversations over the past few weeks, you are learning live with me as I speak to experts like Gleb. And if you are learning with me, maybe you have also learned along this journey how important evals are. I am also so fascinated by how creative and innovative people are with evals. And I think that in itself is a whole field. And honestly, Gleb, that I'm just really excited that we are talking about it and that you are sharing this. This is super interesting. And I know that we had this question from, I know that it says LinkedIn user, because if anyone's curious why sometimes it says LinkedIn user and sometimes we have names, it all depends on the privacy settings of the user commenting. So that is why. So anyway, well, it's not that we don't want to know who you are. It's because privacy settings of different people. But I think we talked a bit about this, but let's read the question. How do you sort of do evals for accuracy, specifically that they generate samples is like actual samples populations? So we touched a little bit about that, Gleb, here, but I do want to just check in a little bit more there. So you said you want to test the quality of new models, etc. And then I wanted to understand a little bit more how, so I'm, I'm not the same category as you. So you and I fit sometimes maybe in the same demographic, and sometimes we are in completely different demographics, maybe depending on the demographic maybe a marketer is looking for, right? And if I'm a user, say, of Electric Twin and I'm a marketer, how can I define then how do you test these different do you have like evals for specific demographics? Do you do evaluation demographic based evals?
Yeah, that's a good question. A lot to unpack here. So let's start maybe with definition of the demographic. So kind of if you're using our Electric Twin platform, so what we call it is a segment. So how you can create a segment, there is actually multiple ways of doing it. It's quite interesting, and I think the answer might actually lead us into the next topic of the conversation. I'm gonna just drop it. Agentic, of course. It's 2025. Everybody's talking about agents. Now, let me backtrack before we talk about agents. So, creating a segment. So, let's say you're a marketeer using our platform. You have an underlying good quality survey has been conducted and onboarded onto our platform. So, you might want to break that down by age. So, age is a question that's usually asked in survey. How old are you? Maybe there's a bracket of age, 35 to 40. Great. So you want to select people under 40 or over, or depending on kind of use case. From that, you can create a segment. But you can also create a segment across multiple dimensions. So you might ask, so you can create a segment of under 30 living in North London. Great. You're going really sort of granular on the kind of demographics that you're after, the kind of segments.
Yeah.
So that's one. And of course, that just means it's exactly right. That is this the parameters that we specified, like the model, the configuration, the context, right? So there's so much going into that, right? Like the underlying data of the persona and also the configuration, and all be called prompt engineering. And now it's more correctly called context engineering, because it's not just about the prompt, it's about so much more, right? How it's configured, and is it best for this persona? So we'd run it for a larger demographic. So in a sense, kind of TLDR is, it's basically a never-ending task of doing those evaluations, because you kind of have this uphill battle of offline, right? It just, probably costly to do, almost never-ending. But you can get quite accurate numbers. And then, of course, then you have a challenge of online. You can have a proxy for the accuracy, but it can never, it won't be as precise. So here you have an interesting challenge, and I think it applies for everyone dealing with AI, trying to kind of communicate, hey, I've given you some kind of prediction here. You should trust it. You should make a decision based off of it. How do you communicate it to your users, to your customers, that this is accurate? So without kind of going into too much detail, some metrics that we use is sort of proxy. Let's say if the input question is quite close to the underlying data set, we will communicate it to the user like, hey, the stuff that you're asking is really close to that base data that the stuff is founded from. You should probably trust it. And if it detects that, like, wow, you're way off from the underlying data, we might communicate that, hey, talk to us. We probably want to run and conduct a new survey so you can ask questions about this topic. So that's maybe one way of dealing with that. There's of course many more, but we probably should go into more agents today.
Yes. We can probably continue on. I do know that we had a little bit more conversation in the chat about evals and demographics, but yeah, we should probably make more of our time here. But yeah, there's like some ongoing conversations in the chat. Feel free to continue chatting, and Gleb, obviously you are more than welcome to come back to these comments and have chats offline in the comments after the live, because these comments will stay there, right? And we'll move on. So obviously let's talk about agents and what it takes to solve real problems. Sorry, I'm coughing. Yeah, there we are. So what does it take to solve real problems, and where are you seeing this space heading, and what excites you next? And I guess that is about agents. Tell me more what you are thinking there.
Hey, did you just say agents? There we go. Now I'm fully alert here. Finally, the good stuff. It's 2025. If you're not talking about agents, then what are you talking about?
Right. 2025 is almost over, Gleb. Almost in 2026.
That one fast. So to be honest, I got a full disclosure here. When the whole terminology of agents came around, at first I was like, I kind of like did a bit of a facepalm. I was like, what? Another hype, another buzz? Like, come on, can we just call it like long-running task or whatnot? I'm now a believer. So I want to go on record that I finally see where people are coming from. I was maybe a little bit selfish in the sense of like, hey, I have access to all these amazing AI tools in my CLI in programming. Mm-hmm. So agents is not for us developers. Agents is developers building for non-developers. And suddenly it's like, oh, that's a way bigger demographic that you can serve. And again, chatting some people at Cursor made a comment that I really love their CLI. Again, Cloud Code, Cursor CLI is fantastic, right? For developers, you have those, again, agentic workflows where you can prompt, you have a problem, if you're working on your code base, you make a natural language prompt, like, hey, can you refactor this to make it speedier? Or, hey, I saw this error log. You dump it in here, go and fix it. And then you'll figure out the number of steps it's going to take. And it's going to be long lasting. It might run for like 20 minutes. And it might come to the solution. It might not. It's an open-ended task in the end of the day. But the beauty of it and the real value and the power is that suddenly you don't have to be an expert in coding as long as you understand. So let's say if you're a designer, right? And of course, you've seen it a lot with like Lovable and the explosion of tools like that, is that suddenly you can build real products and deploy them just having the understanding of design and what your users want. But you no longer, in some cases, of course, right? Like if you're talking about scaling and security, right? That you still need your engineering best practices. But in a lot of cases, at least to build a prototype, the code is almost like a throwaway artifact. If you know what you want to build, you can describe it to that agent, and it will take n number of steps that is not longer prescribed by you. It will use various tools that are no longer prescribed by you to achieve the goal. And again, with our engineering team here at Electric Twin, we're trying to kind of understand our needs of our users and kind of how we can serve it better. So we've built something similar on our platform as well, which I can talk about.
Oh, so that's interesting, because I do think that we obviously have seen a lot of agents for engineers and for developers and so forth. But yeah, tell me about your users and what you see for agents in your customer base. Like, okay, what kind of workflows are you seeing there?
Let's go back to the example I made previously. So you want to run kind of A/B test on marketing campaign for TikTok, right? So here you already making quite a lot of choices. It's like, okay, I'm gonna go and sub-select my demographics by age, and I'm gonna ask them this, and that obviously means clicking on quite a few tools, saving a segment, then remembering to bring that segment back into the question asking. So you're doing a few manual steps. Then you're like, oh, how about we do it 10 times more? So at this point, well, first of all, you're a human, you're lazy. You're quite likely to get distracted, maybe made a mistake.
Buttons are boring.
It's not very scalable. And at some point, I'll just get after like 5, you're like, oh my God, I have to create another thing. And why not automate this even more? We have this way for people just to ask what they want directly. So directly is, I have commercial A, I have commercial B. Can you, in the data, find the relevant data sets, create segments, and tell me which one is better and why? So suddenly you're becoming less prescriptive on what has to happen. You're describing the end goal, and then the agent's going to run for a number of times as an open-ended task, and it'll tell you exactly the steps it took to arrive to that result. So again, freeing our time to do other things.
So how do you? I don't know if this is within your role at Electric Twin, so feel free if this is like outside of your remit to answer. My question is from an experience, for the experience of maybe someone. So if you have users who maybe are a bit less technical than developers, how easy is it for them to leverage these agents? Do you provide like an easier, more intuitive like interface, or do you have to be really technical to set them up? Like what? I was just curious, like what the experience is for them, who as an end user to set up these type of automations.
It's definitely. So we want to make the experience easy and to serve everybody. So with the company work on, we want to serve everyone. So if you're a developer, you can have sort of peek under the hood to use more advanced toggles and suit the kind of the workflow that you're after.
Yeah.
And if you're a decision maker, and again, you might not be capable of just setting a long running experiment with those agents, you don't have to. So we provide the ease of just asking what you're after in a natural language.
Okay, so you do like provide like more easy to use things for those people. And I was curious, like as we talked about Electric Twin, and I did see that Arman was asking, because he's on the same topic. He's asking how many customers Electric Twin has, but I was sort of on the same vein. Just a very quick question: how long has Electric Twin been around? So sort of, I know that that's a little bit off topic, but again about the agents, but I did just want to ask because I saw the question in the live chat, so I just wanted to. Like, how long has Electric Twin been around? Is it an old company? Was it like, does it predate the ChatGPT launch, or is it a younger company? And is it like got loads of customers, or is it just curious.
Yeah, so probably time to delve into a little history of Electric Twin and kind of the reason I joined. So I've been with the company for a year and a half now, and the reason I joined is the story of the founders. Really is fascinating. They both met at number 10. So for international listeners here, it's essentially number 10 is the house where Prime Minister to their business. So it was during challenging time during the COVID. So both of our founders have been using data analytics tools to help with the pandemic efforts in the UK. And that's where the idea for the business came in. Is like they wish they had a better tools to be able to understand how to address various challenges. And I found that fascinating and decided to join.
Okay, and they founded it. What year did they found Electric Twin then? So they founded it. Did it found it in 2020?
Yes. Oh, the company is probably like two years old.
Okay, so company's 2 years old. So it's been 2 years. It's been like in business, and then it's so in Alman's questions, does it have a lot of customers at this point, or how do you feel like it's like, okay, maybe that's secret proprietary information. Maybe that's not like something new, but maybe it says on the website. Maybe there's like some logos on there. Maybe, Aman,
Okay.
if you go on the website, Aman, there might be some logos. Companies like doing that. They like putting logos on websites about who they're serving. I'd
That's
say
right. I can share later in the chat. There's a good use case with one of our customers. So I'll share that later as well.
Doing that kind of thing. They like doing case studies and logos and things on websites. They tend to be like, how many might be a bit of a private question. But I think like the history, like, no, you know, how old is the company? I think that's an interesting one. Okay, and sort of what you are excited about, I think. So you're excited about agents, and do you think like into 2026 then, Gleb? Do you think that that's going to be exciting going forward as well? Like continue to build on agents and enabling more and more workflows.
Absolutely, but that's the thing with AI, right? So once people like, it's hard to roll back, like the luxury of like having that tool where it's like, wait, I don't no longer have to click 5 things on my UI. I can just ask for what I want directly, right? Once you experience this, going back to kind of the old workflow is just like unacceptable. So there's definitely going to be more demand for that, more sort of competition, how to serve the users directly, right? To get exactly what they want to help them empower kind of their use cases. So again, my predictions for 2026 is, of course, we're going to roll the wave of AI. Yeah. But I also hope and I think it will be also more venture into open source models too. So so far,
I was wondering about if you had thoughts about open source models actually, because I do think that is a really interesting space, because obviously there is loads of proprietary and amazing proprietary models out there, and there's also some really interesting open source models. But yeah, like. I'd be curious to hear what you got, even if it's your personal thoughts about open source models, because obviously you spend a lot of time in the MLOps community and in the industry overall. Like, what's your thoughts about open source models?
Well, thinking holistically, so when you have the third-party kind of giant models, of course you're kind of in a luxury of, hey, they're deployed somewhere on the server. I don't have to care about. All I do is I put my credit card details, I get the API key, and off to the races we go. So it's great to get started. And nowadays it's still the only way to get like the best, biggest model. So if you're after like the highest accuracy, that's probably still kind of the winner here. But of course it does provide quite a big of a problem, is suddenly a lot of your business rules are now running somewhere else in some other company. And a lot of use cases that you might want, if you have really sensitive data that you can't send over the internet at all, are not, are not feasible to do. So you sort of kind of would ideally exist in a point where there are models that, if you do have enough know-how, and resources to run on your own hardware or provision in your own instance, and have the connection to this model not be open to everybody else, then I think that's kind of the best of both worlds. And I really hope we're going to see that more of that next year. So some of the models we've seen, like Quen, for example, just killing the benchmarks. So quite excited where this is all heading.
Because I've even been using some Quen myself for like small projects, just small little things. Because I also think, but that was more for fun. But just to be fair, I'm mainly at this point personally, I've been doing a bunch of small little projects, and I think it's been pretty good for those. And what do you think about the future of MCP? Obviously, we talked about agents, and MCP is pretty important when you build agents. And as people are building software, whether you are actively building AI-powered solutions, would you think that people should continue investing in building MCP servers so that we all can continue building agents? How are your thoughts about that? I'm putting you on the spot there. I had not prepared you that I wanted to. I just popped that into my head, and I thought, why not ask you, since we talked about agents?
Well, Erica, I'm glad you did put me on the spot, because as it happens, MCP is one of my sort of favorite tools in a toolbar for sure. Has been kind of really exciting. Both, I've only started as from point of view of a user, right? Like opening up ChatGPT, Claude, and just seeing that you can now connect your Google Drive, your calendar, your email, and it's like, this is it. This is what we've been talking about. Kind of like back in 2023, it's like, oh, AI can do all this stuff for you. It's like, well, now you don't have to like basically copy paste less and just let it rain right through your document base and just find the information that you're after. MCP is great. It's very early days, right? So if you look at the adoption, and again, it's mostly by developers, and the tools that are being built, so those MCP servers are aimed at developers. So it's a kind of classic sign. If you look at technology, this is like the classic curve, like early adopters, like developers building for developers. And as we kind of have, hopefully, sooner and sooner, more like non-traditional developers will come to the scene, they'll instantly realize, wait a second, we can use this for this, and then the whole thing is gonna explode. So MCP definitely gonna be on the horizon, and more exciting things to come. Building an MCP as well right now, quite early days, they have to be quite security conscious. I also want to mention with MCP, if you plug it into your local agents for code, don't be greedy. Context pollution, still a thing, guys. Those models, they don't have unlimited context window. It's interesting. So if you're running,
some of the MCP servers, like GitHub MCP server, is definitely an offender. With like, let's shove all the tools into it, and then your context is full of tools.
Oh, indeed. Yeah, if you're using Cloud Code right now, get the latest version and then do /context, and then just see that about 60% is already taken by the tools. Like you just started and it's already like, well, it's already bloated. So be selective with those tools. There's more work to be we're gonna see. It needs to be done as well on like the selection of the right tools. So I think people are definitely thinking along the right trajectory. So again, TLDR, don't be greedy with those tools. Load only what you need.
I think definitely, hopefully 2026 we'll see more evolution there. So hopefully that'd be exciting. And obviously we don't have a ton of time left. So first of all, Gleb, anything more you want to share about agents? And before we just dive into wrapping up with advice to builders, and for the audience, any final questions you have for Gleb, drop them in the comments. And if Gleb doesn't have time to answer it, I'm sure he can come back offline to answer them. So feel free to drop them in the comments now. But also, Gleb, any final words on agents in 2026? And before we drop into advice?
No more. We talk enough about agents. Maybe just on advice, kind of for builders, something that I've realized, I've been told before, but I also realized myself, is that fundamentals just not going to go away. Like right now, it's exciting space to be. I mean, the whole software ML, it's always been the industry that just changing and reinventing itself. And right now is like just staying up to date with like all new technology, just is overwhelming, right? So don't be overwhelmed. Remember, the basics are always going to stay the same. So your solid, your software engineering best principles, like they're still going to apply. MCP or the new things are going to come next year. It's not going to completely nuke all the rules, right? They're still going to be in place. So if you're new to building or thinking about building, definitely invent in your kind of fundamentals, kind of good software principles, secure principles. That will really set you up. And the new tools are, if you peel a few layers, you kind of see that actually it's kind of like a reinvention or repackaging of what we had before. So even though the space is exploding, in reality, it's kind of, like if you think about like the cloud, it's like, well, mostly just databases and Kubernetes. So think about kind of the fundamentals, and I think that way of like fundamental principles thinking will set you up well for long term.
It's kind of like the history book on the shelf is repeating itself in a way. We are going through a new era, and there are some new challenges, and we have to apply some of those same principles we have applied before, but we've gone through a lot of change. So yeah, I agree with you, Gleb. Remember your fundamentals, because when faced with new challenges, those are going to be important to navigate them, right? So I totally agree with that. I do want to call out again some of those important links, and we haven't shared all of the links, so I want to call them out. So if you want to connect with Gleb, I'm just going to share, there's his LinkedIn. I'll also post the link to his LinkedIn, so hopefully you can grab that. I hope that he has no problem with you all connecting with him on LinkedIn. And you can also follow Electric Twin on LinkedIn. and to stay up to date with what's happening there. And I'll share that there as well. There is QR code. I have been told that no one scans the QR code, so I'm trying to be better with showing the link. I don't know if that's helping, but if you are watching on YouTube, you at least have that in the comments so you can click it. You can also check out Gleb on GitHub. I don't know, what's exciting about your GitHub, Gleb? Tell people why should they check out your GitHub? What's fun on your GitHub?
I think my front pages have like criminal number of emojis. So yeah.
That's what's fun. Okay. That's why people should check it out. And then obviously check out the MLOps community. We shared that earlier. And I shared that a bit earlier, so I can probably scroll up. And
on the MLOps community, if you're joining us today from London, stay tuned on our London events calendar. We got exciting things cooking for early next year. Just in November, was fantastic. Hired the entirety of Hard Rock Cafe in Piccadilly Circus, and we got 500 developers and platform builders showing up on the day. That was one hell of a party, let me tell you. I got live demos and workshops and speakers and everything. It was very exciting. So if you're in London, I'll be very, very glad to welcome you to one of our events.
Amazing. Yeah, you should definitely go, and if you're in London, and see Gleb live. Well, meet Gleb in real life and join the community. And if you are building AI-powered solutions, as I said, my name is Erica Hughberg and I work at Tetrate. I would like to share that you can sign up to router.tetrate.ai, and if you sign up, you can get $5 in free credits. Try out some models, and we have access to a lot of open source models as well. So if you are into if you want to try out Quen and things like that, you can try them out and try it out. We also have access to proprietary models, but that is what I'm using Quen at the moment. So if you want to try that out, you can try it out there. And okay, then we have a question here. Can confirm wicked event in London in November in London. So that's awesome. You got some great reviews there already. Gleb, awesome. So please, people, keep joining the MLOps community. That is amazing. But thank you everyone for joining live. It was awesome having you all interacting live. It's been awesome having Gleb here. So thankful for having you, Gleb, and I'm so grateful you spent all this time with me today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Erica, and folks. Yeah, thanks for your questions. If I haven't been addressed, we'll probably have a look later. And yeah.
And if you're watching the replay, feel free to drop a comment, tag Gleb so he gets notified, and I'm sure he can come and respond in the best way he can. So thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.